My name is Matthew Raymond. I'm very happy to be part of the e-bogu video instruction series. When asked to do this videotape, I was very excited. Not because I considered myself an expert, because I do not, but I felt very excited to share some of the techniques that have brought me some success. Using Nito-Ryu is a little bit different than Nito-Ryu, obviously. One must be very selective in attacks. You only have one hand over your head, so you don't have the same ability to deliver rapid sequences of attacks. So the principle of one strike, one victory really applies in using Nito-Ryu. So thank you for watching the videotape. I hope you enjoy it. The basic techniques used in Nito-Ryu, just as with any part of Kendo, are probably the most important. Musashi laid out in his Book of Five Rings to do what is effective. So do what feels natural. If something is explained with your left foot forward, don't think that it can't be done with your right foot forward. So the importance is to keep proper form, but do what is effective. With both shinai held in your left hand, with the shoto closest to your body, at a ready position, you take 3 steps forward. As you take the 3rd step, you also begin to draw a shinai forward with your right hand. The shinai that is drawn first is the one that you will end up holding in your left hand. You then squat into a sankyo position and place the shinai back in your left hand in a fighting position. As you finish placing the first shinai in your left hand, you draw the 2nd shinai into a fighting position with your right hand and cross both shinai in front of you with the daito on top of the shoto. Assuming the seiza position in Nito is the same as in Ito. The only difference is the placement of the shinai. The tsuba of both shinai are still in line with your knees, but the shoto is placed on the inside of the daito. In other words, the shoto is closest to your legs. Nito-Ryu kata do have the equivalents of all of the kamae used in the rest of Kendo, those being Jodan, Judan, wakigamae, hasokamae, all the same things. However, with Nito-Ryu Kendo, we primarily use Jodan. There are some extensions of Judan, but those are used mostly in defense. So the things that we'll present in this tape are all from Jodan. When assuming Jodan, it is important that the hand that holds the daito overhead is kept only about a fist width from your forehead. Also important is that the tip of the daito should not be allowed to dip too far. If the hand holding the daito is too far from your forehead, then the motion of a strike will be looping. If the daito is too close, then the motion will be too constricted. If the tip of the shinai is allowed to dip, you will have to adjust it prior to striking. Keeping these details in mind will minimize motions that telegraph your intentions and help in delivering clean and efficient strikes. The shoto is held in front of the body, but is not kept perpendicular to it. Instead, the shoto will angle naturally from whichever side it is being held on towards an area that covers your center. It is important that the shoto not be held too far from or too close to your body. If the shoto is held in a position where you are stretching too much, then both the shinai and your kote will be vulnerable to attack. In Nito-Ryu Kendo, we still use the distance of isokito no mae, meaning the distance that you jump in for one step. So that means there will be a gap between the tip of your shoto and the tip of the opponent's shinai. This gap is closed as part of your attack. With Jodan kamae in Nito-Ryu, the shoto is held in front, and since the shoto is shorter than a standard shinai, people doing Nito often end up staying too close to their opponents in order to engage their shinai. It is important to keep isokito ito no mae, or one step distance, as if you held a standard shinai. This means there will be a space between the tip of the shoto and the tip of the opponent's shinai. In Tsubazeriai, the Daito and Shoto form an X, crossing at the Tsuba and roughly in line with the Tsuba of the opponent's shinai. Regardless of which shinai you hold in which hand, when you are in Tsubazeri, the Shoto is placed in front of the Daito so that the Shoto is closest to the opponent's hands. The importance of footwork was emphasized in Kendo Principles Part I. Naturally, it is just as important in Nito.
The okuriashi, same as the ayumiashi, has to be always in touch with the floor. The difference between ayumiashi and okuriashi is that your left foot never passes the right foot heel. You have to always keep your left foot behind your right foot. When you go forward, push with your left foot, and when you go backwards, push with your right foot.
In Nito-Ryu Kendo, standard okuriashi is a natural position with the right foot forward and left heel up. In standard Jodan Kendo, the position of the feet is reversed with the left foot forward and the right heel up. With Nito Kendo, you can assume okuriashi with either your right foot or your left foot. It is important for your okuriashi to feel natural and allow you to move in a smooth and efficient manner. In Nito-Ryu, it's very important that your attacks have a forward feeling or a forward motion with both the Daito and Shoto. And also, the Daito can be held in either the left hand or the right hand, again, doing what feels most natural to you. When performing basic menuchi, it is important that the Shoto and Daito move together. That is to say, both shinai should begin moving at the same time. The Shoto opens or neutralizes the opponent's kamae, and the Daito, already in motion, cannot be avoided. The motion of the Shoto also has a forward element, a forward push instead of a sideways hit. Striking Kote uses the same principles as striking men, namely the Daito and Shoto moving together in a forward swinging motion. The Shoto is used in a forward and upwards motion to open the opponent's kamae. Striking Kote is usually much faster than striking men, and so there's a tendency to use a strong downward swing to try to catch the opponent. The problem with this, of course, is that if you miss, you will lose control of the shinai and it will hit the floor. So, snapping the shinai at proper kote height, whether you connect or not, is very important for both control and maintaining pressure on an opponent. Again, you must move the daito and shoto together and use a forward swinging motion when you attack do. The shoto is used in the same manner as for striking kote, a forward and upward motion that raises and opens the opponent's kamae. Also, the basic principle of keeping the daito hand in the center must be remembered. Keeping the daito hand in the center will result in the wrist snapping the shinai at the opponent's do, instead of having the hand or arm push through the opponent's center. Zanshin for do can be performed to either side of an opponent. Tsuki is not performed much in Nito, but when it is done, it is easier to do with the Shoto. Normally, we feint men before lunging in. This feint will force the opponent to react and break their kamae. With the opponent protecting against men, you will then be able to lunge in and deliver Tsuki with the Shoto. Distance is important when using the Shoto to deliver an attack. The technique must be started at the standard Isokito Ito no Mae. You cannot stand really close to an opponent and simply jab away with the Shoto. This would be considered rude and does not possess the true power that is produced when your whole body moves. One must use spirit from a further distance to establish control, and then lunge in using the hips, not the arms, to produce power. We're now going to build on the basic techniques we just introduced. The focus of our advanced techniques will be combinations. Key to delivering combinations is the use of seme. After the first strike, it's very important to pressure your opponent, and look for that second point. Also very important is that your initial strike actually makes contact. With that contact, it's easier to bounce, if you will, the shinai up in preparation for the next attack. When performing a combination that begins with Kote, one cannot push the daito down to the target, as this will result in the shinai having momentum that cannot easily be stopped, and he will be unable to recover effectively for a second strike. As explained earlier, when performing Kote, one should always strive to have a forward snapping element to the striking motion. The Shoto and Daito move together in starting the combination, but after creating an opening, the Shoto is kept active and ready to defend or apply further pressure and control. Again, care must be taken to use a full striking motion with Kote. Do is then executed with the striking hand remaining in the center of the body and the wrist quickly snapping the shinai to the opponent's do. The need for a quick snap is particularly important here, as the distance may have been close slightly with the first Kote strike, and there will be less room than usual to perform do. In performing Debana waza, it is very important that you force your opponent to attack and not simply wait for an attack to come. If you force your opponent to attack, you are in control, perhaps you know what's coming, and it's easier to deliver an effective counter. Also very important is that you do not bend out of the way or retreat. If you retreat or bend, then it's more difficult for you to deliver an attack. Also, it's very important that your opponent commit to what they're doing. With that in mind, it's very important for you to stand straight in front of your opponent with a strong spirit. When performing Debana men, you must be sure to use the Shoto to move the opponent's shinai aside and gain control of the center as you attack. At the same time, you must deliver a men with the daito. Try to engage the opponent's shinai with the Shoto as early as possible. Debana Kote does not require much footwork. Also, the Shoto can be used in a slightly different manner. As your opponent attacks, you strike Kote quickly and directly with the daito, while the Shoto is simply moved to a defensive position above your head. The path the Shoto takes is still a forward one that may open the opponent's incoming shinai, but you do not have to depend on the Shoto to make that opening. Like Debana Kote, Debana Do can also be executed with the Shoto being used in a more defensive manner. There is still a forward motion with the Shoto that may open the opponent's incoming shinai. As you simultaneously strike Do with the Daito, be sure not to twist your body or shoulders to do so. With backwards men, the Shoto can be used to push the opponent's shinai, either to the left or the right to make an opening. Creating an opening with the Shoto and executing a Kote with the Daito can be done quickly from Tsubazeriai, but distance is important. It is easy to jam yourself if you strike without body movement. So you must coordinate your footwork with your shinai movement in order to allow yourself enough space to strike. Hiki-do requires a lot more work from your wrist, and because do leaves your daito hand in a low position, it is important to have the shoto ready to defend as your zanshin carries you backwards. As you move an opponent's shinai up and outward with the shoto, it is very natural to simply continue the motion of the shoto up into a defensive position. Kiri-gaeshi is usually performed exclusively with the daito. As always, it is important that the hand holding the daito is kept centered and that a forward swinging motion is used. When receiving Kiri-gaeshi, as soon as your partner begins, drop your daito hand and place both shinai in an X in the Sugazeri position. This is to prepare your hips to provide a strong target for their initial push. When receiving Kiri-gaeshi, both the daito and shoto can be used to receive incoming strikes.
Also, another important thing is after hit, you have to keep a good Zanshin. Zanshin means you keep your mind. That means you don't lose your mind to the opponent. You always keep attention to the opponent.
Typically, the Zanshin used by a beginner is carried right through an opponent's position. This often results in single hits and predictable attacks. However, Nito-Ryu was introduced as a more comprehensive fighting system that could take advantage of different distances and angles. With this in mind, at advanced levels, the Zanshin used in Nito-Ryu should not require one to follow through to great distances to show spirit and readiness. Instead, Zanshin should be concentrated and determined, allowing one to maintain awareness, focus, presence, and pressure. Not only does concentrated Zanshin help keep one safe, it also allows you to create and see other opportunities for victory.